everybody, and welcome to the IRO Summit and our session, How to Market Your Properties Online. My name is Chris Ulep, Vice President for Yardi Breeze. Of course, everyone who owns and manages residential properties has vacancies from time to time, some more than others, depending on your markets. This makes property marketing so important: how to be efficient, how to get quality applicants, and reduce vacancy time. And as we all know, there have been great advances and changes in our industry for listing and showing your vacant units, taking applications, screening, collecting application and rent payments, and ongoing customer service. Independent rental owners like you now have resources available that are much the same as used by companies with the largest portfolios with sophisticated marketing departments. To that end, we've put together this session on how to market properties online. We'll cover basics from corporate and property websites to online leasing and more, and speak with a professional like you who wears many hats for a family real estate business and recently completed a very successful 26-unit lease up for a brand new property. You'll enjoy hearing about her experience and insight, and even if you are old school and have been successfully renting using the same tried and true methods you always have, we promise you there will be some interesting and relevant information during this session. Statistics show that almost 80% of today's renters visit a corporate or property website during their home search. This fact highlights the need for a strong web presence with the most important information they can find quickly, else you run the risk of them moving on to the next search result. Some other interesting statistics about online renter behavior. In addition to visiting a property website, 45% visit a property's social media channels, and 73% signed a lease electronically. Those have certainly increased over the past several years, and especially this past year as we weathered the pandemic. And even as we thankfully move to a post-pandemic environment, we can expect this behavior to remain. This next stat is quite telling. 89% of renters search on their computer, and 83% of renters search on a smartphone. These numbers reflect the renter's journey of perhaps searching in front of their computer, as well as wherever they may be on their smartphone. This makes it even more important to have a web presence that is mobile friendly. Now, we can't cover every bit of information around property marketing in today's session, but one of our favorite ways to cover a lot of ground is to ask one of your peers about real-world experiences. Our special guest is Niki Valner from Kibo Group, based out of beautiful Santa Monica, California. Kibo Group has an amazing history and beautiful portfolio of residential and commercial properties. Hello, Niki, and thank you so much for joining us today at the IRO Summit to share your knowledge and experience with our audience.
Hi, thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
If you don't mind, please tell us a little bit about yourself and Kibo Group.
Yeah, so we're boutique developers based out of Santa Monica. We do a lot of business in between, anywhere from Long Beach to Santa Barbara. We kind of, as I mentioned before, we like to do projects that are too big for the small guys and too small for the big guys. So our most recent project was in Santa Barbara, and I think we're going to talk about it today.
Yes, and mayplaza.com. Let's take a look. What can you tell us about this property?
So this property was made using Rent Cafe. We used a template from the Rent Cafe templates, and it was really simple to make. It's a really easy website to navigate, very user-friendly. If this is kind of the home landing page. If you scroll down a little bit, you'll learn more about the property, check availability, see more photos. A lot of these photos are of the unit, some of the exteriors. So there's a nice mix, so you can really get a feel for the project.
Tell me about the photography. Where did it generate from, and how did that whole process go?
So a lot of the photography initially, actually, we were finishing construction, and while the interior of the units were finished, and we were even able to stage them, the exterior of the project was still not finished. And so since we didn't want to bring the photographer out twice, you'll hear me say this a few times, we were always working on a tight budget. We didn't want to bring the photographer out twice. We wanted to have them do everything in one full swoop. So a lot of these pictures actually were shot on my iPhone. I shot them myself. Now there's kind of a hybrid of photos on there because we have both the photographer's professional photos and my photos integrated together. So yeah, I actually took a lot of these photos myself.
That's really great. I have a hard time determining which are the professional photography and which are the ones that you took. So really great job. And as we can see, you're highlighting, some of the amenities that you think are most important to see. How do you decide which amenities to highlight on your website?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, we're really proud of this project and we're proud of all the amenities. So there's nothing wrong with showing, I think the more the merrier for amenities. We have a photo of a little 18-inch dishwasher somewhere in there. I think it's on the photo page. And, people would come and tour the units and say, oh yeah, I saw that dishwasher. They'd get really excited about it. So I think no amenity should go unhighlighted. Because everyone always wants to know, is there air conditioning? Is there a thermostat? Is there a dishwasher? Is there a microwave? We're really lucky that on this project, we're actually able to have all of those things. And so I just think there's no harm in highlighting them.
It really does. It really is a good testament for the fact that having photography on your website is so important, even if you take it yourself, and then perhaps depending on who you are and what your property is, perhaps bringing in a professional photographer to highlight it even more. Now, you have floor plans. I see these here. And what was it like creating that? Because I'm sure that, as we all know, for a visitor to see the layout of the unit is very important.
Yeah, the floor plans, Rent Cafe actually has a really great opportunity for owners or property managers, whoever's making the website. I think there's 3 different types of floor plans. So you can have really cool, beautiful 3D floor plans that they'll help make for you, 2D floor plans, or regular floor plans. And again, I was on a tight budget. And so this was as simple as taking our architectural drawings. I asked my architect to clean them up a little bit so they didn't have, measurements and blue and red lines going through them. I just screenshotted them, put them into Microsoft Word, very niftily added, I don't know if nifty is the word, niftily, I added our logo onto there. And then I saved them as photos and I simply uploaded them. So I think they still give people the idea of, what their floor plans are. Obviously if I had the budget to do a 3D rendering, that'd be awesome. But I just didn't have that in the budget. So that's kind of what I did. And the floor plans were really helpful. Again, people would call and ask to tour specific ones or come and see them and say, wait, I saw online that floor plan B, can I see that? Or so I think having floor plans and giving your tenants the visual on top of the photos is really helpful.
Well, that's great. Yes. And thank you for mentioning that, in some cases you may someday want to decide to have a 3D floor plan, but having the layout there is the most important thing. And it really can be done on your own without a big expense. I also really like what you did with the map page. It shows really good information about the location of your property. And I really like the design. How did you decide what to do here on this page?
Yeah, so this map comes through, again, Rent Cafe pulls that automatically, which is a really nice feature. It shows people exactly where we are. And just to kind of diversify and break up the amount of photos, I put this hand sketch in from our architect. So when we were trying to add or get this project approved, that's kind of like the initial concept. And that little sketch was just very special to us. So it was nice to be able to incorporate it onto the website somewhere. Again, just to kind of keep it clean, not put too many photos of the same things. I don't like to repeat photos anywhere on the website. So I thought that was a nice home for it.
Wow, that's great. That's great. So now you are fully leased up. All 26 units were leased. But Niki, please tell us about what that process was like as you were going through your lease up and you were taking applications.
Yeah, so we did everything, again, online through Rent Cafe and Yardi. Very, very helpful to have the software to do that. So I found our website to be incredibly helpful, both for people to view floor plans, view which units they're interested in, get them in the door. Then once I actually got them in the door and sold them on the units, or at least them on the units, then I was able to direct them back to the website where they would do all their applications. So both their applications were online, their payment was online for their application. I could do any of their screenings, background checks, et cetera, online through Yardi and Rent Cafe, of course. and it made the process really seamless. So we were happy to have it.
That's great, and I'm sure that was very important as many of your customers and yourself were not engaging directly during this past year, but it certainly is, again, another one of those examples of technology and practices that are absolutely here to stay.
Yeah, definitely.
I noticed that you have your contact us down here, and so we have your web form where they can contact you, and then you have email and phone. And I'm noticing you have a chat here. Tell us about that. Who's on the other end of this chat, I'm wondering?
Well, I was going to say, they actually, prospective tenants have no fear in using any of those buttons. They would call, they would email all the time. And the chat button too is really helpful. It's a great feature. We're, like I said, a pretty small boutique development office. So this project was really being mostly overseen and leased by myself. I had some other people helping answer the phones and whatnot, but I unfortunately didn't have a live person who would sit at chat all day. So the great thing about this chat feature is it makes, I think, the prospective tenant feel like someone's actually there and going to respond to them, which in some cases we are. I, again, not always online. And I was the person who was responsible for that being on the chat box on the other side. So the good thing is the feature makes it so if someone's actually not there to respond live, it sends you an email and I can just respond to them directly. So it's a great feature, and yeah, people like using it as well.
That's great. And I'll mention for everyone else out there who may have actual more vacancies on a more frequent basis that, you know, if you have somebody who can be there and ready to answer a chat, that's a great way to engage with the visitors to your website. And there also is technology now for chatbots, and it's getting better and better. You know, I know we've all experienced some frustration in the past with chatbots, but a good chatbot is built for our industry and has an extensive and growing library of questions it can answer, uses natural language processing and machine learning to consistently provide a high level of response. So something, again, maybe someday in the future as you continue with other projects and as you're doing lease ups and or have vacancies, that might be something you want to look to sometime in the future. Another thing, Niki, I wanted to ask you, have you considered enabling any of your phone numbers for SMS text in the event some of your customers, whether they're prospects or residents, may choose to communicate with you or prefer to via a text message?
Yeah, we're just still getting this project stabilized, so I haven't done that yet. But now that we have our tenants in there, definitely considering it. I think that there's a way for the tenants to text and us to respond via email, which would probably, am I correct? There's a way to do that, right?
Well, actually what it does is you'll enable a landline, they can text to it and it'll come right into your software, and then they respond that way. So you're not actually dealing with, you know, providing devices to any of your employees or using personal devices or anything like that. So it can be very convenient.
Got it. Yeah, so we'll definitely consider it. I just haven't gotten there yet. There's a lot of setups going on right now. So it seems like also a cool feature.
So there's another thing I want to show you about your website here, and you may not actually be aware of it yet. This is a bit of what we might call an advanced tech tip. But Google has a tool built into its Chrome browser for measuring the quality of a website. And you access it, like I've done here, by hitting F12 and choosing Lighthouse and generating a report. I ran this for your website, and it shows that you have just really great scores across the board, which greatly helps with SEO results and ensure a quality experience. So I know your software providers platform plays a big part in these scores, but overall, I am just absolutely impressed with what you've done with your website all on your own to provide a really attractive experience for everyone to visit. So let me ask you this. Besides the website, have you used some other classic channels for advertising?
Yes, I did an audit after we finished leasing, and we had, you know, most of our prospects came from online. We had it listed for free with no charge on Zillow, apartments.com, and Rent Cafe. I think that Zillow automatically shares it with HotPads and Trulia. So I guess that's 5 total. Those were the 5 biggest ones that we were using. And again, I wasn't paying for any of these services, just had them listed for free. And I guess here you can see, yeah, on Rent Cafe, our listings. So this is actually the only one that's still up because we are connected to Rent Cafe.
I see. Well, I like to highlight it because it's just a great example of an internet listing service that's out there where it will show your property. And if you were to drill in, you get even more information. And so this is really good for many of our audience who may not have their own property website or corporate website for that matter. And they can provide a good web presence here with information about their property and everything somebody's might need to know in order to contact and explore applying for your property. So how about even more traditional advertising? Did I hear you say something about print ads and signage perhaps?
Yeah, we did two local, one online publication, local in Santa Barbara, and one print advertisement. And I put a sign out front. I unfortunately didn't have, it's hard to track, but I don't think I had as many responses through the print publications, but that should not be a surprise to anyone as we know everything's online today. But yeah, the sign out front, I think definitely got a lot of walk-ins to call my office. Luckily I was on site, can tour them quickly. But the sign out front definitely is, I think, equally as useful as having a website. Sometimes people are just in town for the day and they're driving by and they see a sign out and they realize something's for lease, so they call. And they want to see the listing as soon as they can. So, yeah.
Absolutely. A good old traditional thing like a sign is always and often very helpful indeed. Now, back to some modern things. Did you do some virtual tours or Zoom showings?
Yes, I did actually. I think I leased 5 units sight unseen in person, all virtually. So I did a pretty decent amount of virtual tours. I did them on Zoom, very easy to do. I could carry my phone around the property, show them more than just a few images, actually walk them through the property, show them the security gates, show them the parking garage, show them really everything on the property, which, proved to be really helpful, especially, I was leasing this building in April. So right, when people are kind of starting to crawl out of their homes for the first time. But, a lot of people are also relocating, not comfortable touring in person still. So virtual tours were definitely something that should not go under the radar. They should definitely be taken seriously.
Indeed. And, we have the technology, it's easy to use, and it makes so much sense for a lot of people, for sure. Lastly, here on the website, I see that you have access to both the applicant login, as you talked about, be able to do online applications when you are doing that, but you also have your resident login. So just, if you don't mind, share with our audience the benefits of a resident portal for your tenants.
Yeah, the resident portal is a really nice feature. We have some other utilities that the residents have to pay, and we are able to back charge them through the portal. In addition to, of course, them paying their monthly rent through the portal. So it's just a really helpful tool. They can, see what they're paying, when they're paying. They can put things on auto payment. They can do maintenance requests through the online portal. So the resident portal is very helpful once you actually get those tenants into their units.
And saves you work as well as perhaps other members of your team should you have them. So I want to take a look over at Kibo Group's corporate website. For many IROs, a corporate website is their primary web presence actually, and provides information on all of their properties all in one place. And as we can see from Kibo Group, you're able to showcase your really beautiful portfolio of residential and commercial properties, your in-progress projects, and highlight information about your company, history, and other facets of your business. Is there anything you'd like to highlight for our audience here today?
Well, thanks for the feedback, positive. It's definitely a nice thing to have a website. We like to showcase projects we've done, whether they're development or ownership or property management, just to let everyone know kind of what we're capable of. But in addition to that, we find websites really helpful if you need to obtain a bank loan or construction loan for a new project or new development. It's definitely, adds that credibility to your name. Everything's online. So if you don't have a website, I think it's time you get one.
Well, thank you, Niki. Thank you so much for sharing all this great information about May Plaza and Kibo Group. I really have great respect for how you're able to handle so much for your properties all on your own, and I'm sure many of the IRO community wears many different hats like you do.
Thank you. Yeah, sure they do.
I'd like to now recap a few best practices for our audience before we conclude. As we saw with Kibo Group, a corporate website can provide a professional presence for your business and properties. For many of you, a devoted property website is not required, but you can list all of your properties on your corporate website. But it is important to provide a modern, responsive design, real-time pricing and availability, and access to applicant and resident portals. Your corporate website can definitely play a key part in providing information and capturing leads. For those of you who do want to have a property website for a specific property, spending a little time and using the right platform can make it easy to set up an attractive website with digital curb appeal. Make sure your website has a modern, responsive design, which will allow it to look great on smartphones or devices of all sizes. You do not have to be a professional photographer these days to get good photos, as Niki has shared with us. It is important to highlight your property and its amenities with useful photos and information. You want to provide real-time pricing and availability and to communicate your property or community narrative to help attract customers. You can provide easy access to applicant and resident portals, and you can best capture leads directly on your website without having to answer a phone call. Now, as I said at the outset, we won't try to cover all of the many facets of property marketing and technology today, but here are a few items that may be worth looking into. Offering online tours, either 3D, interactive virtual tours, or video that can help a prospect decide to apply without visiting the property. But we know live tours are often necessary, and these days you can provide a traditional guided tour, or some companies are moving towards self-guided tours, which may be preferable to your prospect. And live Zoom tours can also be a great way for out-of-town renters to see the property and unit. Using a chatbot provides answers 24/7. Another idea is to create and maintain a blog on your website. Search engines, the most important being Google, recognize this and may include you in search results. In addition to improving your business's online searchability, blog articles make great content for your social media channels and allow you to publish news, policy changes, and invites to community events, etc. And lastly, social media can be a great way to market your property and connect with those prospects and tenants. If you haven't already done so, definitely check out Megan Orster's session on social media right here at the IRO Summit. And that brings us to the conclusion of our session. Great thanks again, Niki, for sharing your great knowledge and experience with us. If you have any questions, feel free to post them on the chat wall. Also, from 3 to 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time, Niki and I will be available for a live chat session, and we'd love to meet you and answer any questions you may have. So long, everyone. Thank you for being here.